21 strategies to grow your podcast audience. In this episode of The Podcast Lawyer, I'll be taking off my lawyer hat and talking a little bit about some of the ways that you can grow your audience. So stick around. I am Gordon Firemark, the podcast lawyer, and I help creatives and business people in the podcasting industry to cover their legal bases and protect themselves and the things that they create. And today, so you figured out how to get good sounding audio for your show. You figured out what kind of content you want to create, maybe how to get good guests. But then there's always that one question. It's the elephant in the room. How can I grow my show's audience? Maybe you're wanting some greater reach because you've got an important message to share, or you want to monetize, and hey, arguably you need a big audience to do that, or maybe you just want the good vibes that come from knowing lots of folks are listening to what you have to say. But ultimately what it is, you want more earballs. Well, I've wondered the same thing, and I went out and gathered up some of the prevailing wisdom on the subject. And today we're going to share 21 different approaches. But before we dive into that, I just want to let you know that coming up in just a couple of weeks, I'll again be hosting my free online workshop called Business and Legal Fundamentals for Podcast Growth and Profit. And inside the session, you'll learn 3 prerequisites to truly professional results as a podcaster, 4 essential components to a solid professional business-like approach to podcasting or really any entrepreneurial activity. You'll learn 5 of the biggest mistakes that podcasters make that hold them back from easy growth and success. And you'll learn how to quickly and easily get your podcast's business and legal affairs in order without hiring expensive attorneys. So register online at event.podcastlaw.net. It's there on your screen. It's in the chat. And all right, well, let's get back to our topic, some strategies about how you can go about growing your audience. Number 1 is consistency. It's key when it comes to podcasting. Your listeners should know when to expect new episodes, whether it's once a week or bi-weekly or monthly. Sticking to a schedule can help build loyalty among your listeners. But as my good friend Dave Jackson recently said in a rant about this, being consistent in putting out episodes is, every week or whatever, it can backfire on you if the quality isn't there. His view is that the consistent quality and topic to interest alignment are far more important than just being there 52 times a year. Better, he says, and I agree, put out 10 or 12 great episodes that show you're serious about serving your audience. And in fact, this is what I do with my other podcast, Entertainment Law Update. That's a monthly roundup of legal news and case law analysis about entertainment law. Monthly because, well, it takes a lot of work to do the kind of in-depth coverage we offer, and we'd rather be good than just frequent. So that's entertainmentlawupdate.com in case you're interested. Do you see what I did there? Well, that brings us to number 2. Promote your podcast. Utilize your social media platforms, your Twitter, your Instagram, your Facebook, to promote your show. You can also create a website or a blog for your podcast where you can post show notes, behind-the-scenes information, and other relevant content. Number 3 is collaborate with other podcasters. Doing this in your niche can be a great way to reach new audiences. Guesting on other podcasts or hosting speakers on your own podcast is a great way to introduce you to their listeners, some of whom will follow you onward into the future. Number 4, optimize your podcast for discoverability. Make sure your podcast is easily discoverable by optimizing it for the directories and platforms. Drop a few relevant keywords in the title, the description, the tags, and more people who are looking will find you. Number 5, engage with your listeners. Engage with them by responding to their comments, their questions, their feedback. This will help build a community around your show and can lead to increased word-of-mouth promotion. And a bonus is it can also be a great content creation tool because responding to your listener's question can often be the answer to the big question, what should I talk about on this episode? Well, number 6 is attending podcasting events. Going to events can be a great way to network with other podcasters, industry professionals, and potential audience members. It'll lead to new opportunities and collaborations. And I'll tell you, for the past 8 or 9 years, I've made it a point to attend at least 2 to 3 podcast conferences each year. And for me, yeah, it's about business, positioning myself as the podcast lawyer, and speaking is a great way to do that. And traveling is worth it to me. But even if you're not speaking, attending these events is a great opportunity to learn and meet people and recharge those enthusiasm batteries. And enthusiasm is a big driver of strong podcast performance. And you don't have to travel to do it. There are tons of online virtual events, and if you look, you will probably find some local podcast meetups and events as well. And you know what? If you don't, think about starting one in your community. The results are bound to be positive. Number 7, utilize paid advertising. Investing in paid ads on social media or other platforms can help you really to reach a wider audience. It can be an effective way to reach new listeners who may or may not have otherwise discovered your podcast. And you can use SEO to optimize the podcast website. That website should be showing up in search engines to ensure, optimize it so it shows up in those results. This is easy. Achieve it by using relevant keywords and creating high quality content, including links to your podcast episodes, cross-linking other places, things like that. Number 9, create shareable content. Shareable content can help your podcast reach to new audiences. Consider creating short video clips, social media posts, blog posts that promote your podcast and can easily be shared by your existing audience. Now, you can repurpose your existing content. That can work, but making something a little custom is actually better here, and it only takes a couple of minutes. Short form content can be a really great tool for cross-sharing and attracting more audience. Number 10, offer exclusive content to subscribers. Consider offering things like bonus episodes, behind the scenes content, or early access to new episodes. This can incentivize people to subscribe to your podcast, and it can help you build a loyal following. Plus, it'll help you gather audience data like email addresses. That way you can engage with those folks further in the future. It'll also help you make a bit of money if you use a paid platform like Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee or something like that. So I'll call that win-win. Number 11, participate in online forums and groups. Engage in these groups that are related to your niche. This can help you connect with podcast listeners who are already interested in the topics you cover. Just don't overdo it. Don't promote in groups where that's frowned upon, and be judicious about it even in groups where it is okay. Just, everything in moderation, fella. All right, number 12, utilize guest posting. Consider writing guest posts for other blogs or websites related to your niche. It'll help you reach new audiences and promote your podcast to people who otherwise might not have found it. Number 13, use email marketing. This can be a powerful tool to promote your show. Build an email list of subscribers and send out a newsletter that includes links to your latest episodes and other relevant content. All you need to do this is a mailing list provider like MailChimp or ConvertKit, and a way to gather email addresses by offering maybe a freebie in exchange for a listener's address. Just make sure that you're following the data privacy laws like CCPA and GDPR. And fortunately, most of the email service providers have this pretty well handled, and they'll show you the way to do it right. Number 14, offer incentives for referrals. Encourage your existing listeners to refer their friends and family to your podcast by offering incentives, discounts, exclusive content, those kinds of things. This will help you grow your audience through word of mouth promotion. Number 15, create a community around your podcast. Creating a community by building a Facebook group or a subreddit or some other kind of online forum where listeners will connect to each other and discuss topics related to your niche, well, that'll help build a sense of community and loyalty among listeners. And that's the first step in getting them to talk about your show elsewhere, referring for new listeners and that kind of thing. Number 16, collaborate with influencers. Collaborating with other personalities in your niche can be a great way to build your podcast. It'll help you reach new audiences, and it'll lend credibility to your podcast. Now, collaborations can be as simple as guesting on other shows, or you could co-create a course or a summit or what have you. Number 17, utilize cross-promotion. Cross-promote your show on other media channels. If you've got a blog, do it there. If you've got a YouTube channel, mention it there. Social media accounts. This will help you promote the podcast to people who aren't always looking for a specific topic within their podcasts. Number 18, attend live events. Events related to your podcast niche, not podcast conferences, but if you're in basket weaving, a basket conference or something like that, right? Or trade shows. It'll help you connect with potential listeners and promote your podcast to a wider audience. And if you can get on the stage, do it. Overcome your fear or imposter syndrome or whatever else has got you puzzled. Just get up there and give some kind of value to the audience. You've learned a lot from doing your show. Share it. Or consider recording or live streaming from the event. Maybe you can even find a sponsor to help with this. Think outside the box a little with this, and you might find a really clever way to do this. Number 19 is running contests or giveaways. Now, you can use these things to incentivize people to listen to your show and engage with your content. It'll help you grow the audience. It'll help you build engagement. It can be a great thing, but you do need to be careful about following the laws related to sweepstakes and contests, so you're not accused of running an illegal lottery. This one is definitely a check with your lawyer situation. Number 20, leverage the directories. Make sure your podcast is listed on podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Podcast Index is a great one. This will help people discover your podcast when they're out searching for the kind of content you've created in your niche. Number 21 is create transcripts. Transcriptions of your podcast episodes posted on your website or blog can help your podcast be discovered by people who prefer to read over listening, or by people who are hard of hearing. And it can also help with your SEO. And transcripts aren't just a good idea. It might actually be a legal requirement under some of the anti-discrimination on the basis of disability kinds of laws, like the Americans with Disabilities Act. But either way, transcripts can come in handy to create captions. Several of the hosting companies now are actually supporting transcripts and captions. And it's really just a matter of showing them, people who make the podcast player apps, that there's a demand for this and it will take off. And you can also repurpose the content from your transcript. Grab an excerpt and turn it into a meme, or publish a compilation of your content as a book or an ebook or something, or use it to create presentations for your live events and conferences. The new AI-powered tools like Descript and Otter and several others that are out there are really getting good. So transcripts are no longer out of reach for most of us. The cost is minimal. And last point, if you are doing things like transcripts or offering bonus value content or speaking at events, shout it from the rooftops. Send out press releases, do some PR, make it a selling point. After all, getting folks to consume your podcast is a sales process. You got to convince folks to spend their valuable time and attention on your message. That's your product. So make sure you're giving more value than you get, and that you're solving a problem. It might just be they want entertainment, but you got to solve something for them. That strategy will never fail you. So there you have about 21 strategies that you can use to grow your audience. I'm Gordon Firemark, the podcast lawyer, and that is it for this episode of Legit Podcast Pro. Hey, don't forget to register for the free workshop. Visit event.podcastlaw.net. It's coming up real soon, and I'll be back next week with another episode. But until then, keep on keeping on and keep on podcasting.